When German staff officers spoke his name, whispers in certain Western command circles often turned into tense silence. It was not merely a matter of personal reputation, it was a strategic signal. Wherever Patton operated, familiar calculations collapsed, and the tempo of war accelerated to speeds the Wehrmacht was not always able to match. To understand why this happened, one must return to the formation of Patton's image, his biography, his style of command, his operational results, and how the German army and its generals interpreted those results. Patton was raised in a culture of cavalry maneuver and early armored warfare. He was educated through the study of military history, rigorous preparation, and a deep obsession with speed. Already in North Africa and Sicily, the first campaigns in which American forces seriously confronted the Germans, Patton established himself not merely as a competent commander, but as a man who valued initiative, aggression, and unexpected, hard decisions. His method was the pace of advance, faster than that of many of his peers. His understanding of maneuver warfare combined American industrial power with a willingness to take battlefield risks. German generals, raised in a tradition of concentration and calculation, saw in Patton the very kind of mobile force that shattered plans. He did not simply occupy sectors of a line, he struck at flanks, crossings, and supply lines. For the Germans, this meant the front was not merely pierced, it was pulled out from under their feet. German assessments of Patton began forming long before Normandy. In the African campaign and in Sicily, Patton demonstrated his trademark combination: aggressive tactics, rapid reaction to changing situations, and the ability to exploit success without regard for Allied sensitivities. German analysts noted his talent for making the impossible possible. Rather than waiting for ideal conditions, he created them through action, instinctively bypassing expected defensive lines and denying the enemy the chance to organize a coherent defense. In Sicily, Patton became known as a commander who exploited surprise and speed and was unafraid of risk, sometimes even at the expense of Allied diplomacy. German planners saw this as dangerous. Even when a solid defensive line held the front, there was always the risk that Patton would strike where logistics and communications were weakest. The Wehrmacht was accustomed to measuring strength in artillery, preparation, and engineering obstacles. Patton introduced a human factor: pressure on personnel, relentless persistence, psychological dominance. This was reflected in German field reports. When phrases like rapid breakthrough, flanking maneuver, or unexpected night movement appeared, many officers already suspected Patton's influence. The result was evident in intelligence summaries. Where Patton's forces operated, the Germans suffered not only manpower losses, but a loss of informational superiority. They failed to determine the direction of the main blow in time, forcing a choice between pulling reserves or risking collapse. Both options were dangerous. Patton and the breath of war in Normandy. By the time of Normandy, Patton had refined his operational style. After the landings in June 1944, German command faced what would become a central dilemma: how to deploy reserves and mechanized forces under constant threat of sudden breakthroughs. Patton assumed command of the 3rd United States Army in August 1944 and immediately delivered what both allies and enemies expected: speed, decisiveness, and the ability to stretch German defenses until they broke. As the Third Army surged across France, German generals felt not only physical danger, but operational panic. Patton shattered standard models. Reserves held in central sectors suddenly found themselves outflanked or irrelevant. German planning, accustomed to weeks-long cycles, collapsed under the pressure of American tempo. Patton transformed Allied industrial superiority into operational velocity. Millions of tons of fuel, ammunition, vehicles, mobile repair units, and logistics followed his armies. German commanders recognized this as a terrifying synthesis: tactical daring backed by limitless supply. Psychological warfare and reputation. Patton was not merely fast, he knew how to inspire and intimidate. His fiery speeches, uncompromising discipline, and relentless drive hardened his troops. German prisoners and civilians spoke of the ferocity and momentum of American units under his command. German officers understood that warfare was not only about numbers and weapons, morale mattered, and Patton's forces seemed driven by a will that did not allow pause or hesitation. Equally dangerous was Patton's tendency toward unconventional decisions, sometimes directly contradicting official instructions. This made him unpredictable, and for the German command, unpredictability was poison. Patton often did not seize objectives head-on. Instead, he created pressure in one sector, forced enemy redeployment, then struck elsewhere. His style resembled a deceptive, mobile, disorienting. The Wehrmacht's doctrine of defense in depth struggled against such fluidity. This was particularly evident in August 1944, when Allied forces broke out from Normandy toward the Rhine. German reports described collapsing cohesion, broken communications, and reserves arriving too late. Discipline, character. Patton demanded strict discipline, but discipline, in his view, meant relentless attack. German officers later recalled, as long as he was present, there was no relief. His armies pressed continuously. This constant pressure exhausted German formations. Units were forced into continuous movement, denying them rest or reorganization. Patton's mastery of rapid task execution, river crossings, night marches, sudden redeployments, improvisational use of transport impressed even German engineers. They described his operations as an exceptional fusion of logistics and maneuver. German after-action reports frequently referred to the danger of rapid penetration, flank collapse, and loss of situational awareness. Senior commanders acknowledged that Patton's actions forced premature and desperate decisions. Post-war memoirs by figures such as Field Marshal von Rundstedt and Field Marshal von Manstein acknowledged the crisis-inducing speed of Allied operations, particularly American ones. These writings reveal a growing recognition. German command was losing not only material parity, but the ability to react effectively. When Germany launched its Ardennes offensive in December 1944, Patton became central to the Allied response. His ability to pivot forces under winter conditions shocked the Germans. The Third Army executed a rapid countermarch and struck northward, helping relieve the besieged town of Bastogne. This confirmed German fears. Patton was dangerous not only in summer maneuver warfare, but under any conditions. Finally, Patton's personality itself was a weapon. His flamboyance, bluntness, and aggressive patriotism amplified his reputation. German officers feared not only his armies, but the man directing them, someone who fully understood how to exploit both material and psychological advantage. Why did German generals fear Patton more than any other Allied commander? Tempo and initiative. Patton converted industrial superiority into operational speed. Unpredictability. His unconventional thinking defied enemy forecasting. Psychological pressure. He inspired his troops and demoralized opponents. Operational and logistical mastery. He exploited Allied logistics to their fullest. Versatility. Effective in all seasons and conditions. Personality. His presence alone altered enemy calculations. Epilogue. Memory and judgment. History remembers Patton as one of the most controversial and effective American field commanders. German generals analyzing their defeats repeatedly cited factors associated with him: speed, aggression, exploitation of opportunity. When Patton's name appears in German post-war memoirs, it is not merely recollection, it is recognition. Where Patton operated, the war unfolded differently. And for the Germans, this difference exacted a heavy price in time, territory, and lives.